Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is Balsam Nami from Dar Al Handasa, a member of the DAR Group and founder of the DAR Group. And I'll be presenting my screen shortly to walk you through our own experience as an industry leader in terms of our journey towards net zero. Okay, so as you could see, this is an introductory video of how we are looking at net zero and what our journey towards net zero is. Again, for those that are just joining, my name is Balsam Nami. I'm the head of sustainability for Dar Al Handasa Consulting, and I've been with Dar for about 16 years now, leading on the sustainability works mainly in Middle East and Africa region. Our presentation today is about net zero solutions around the world in 24 hours and how at DAR we are tackling those solutions, whether at the level of our operations or at the level of our projects and the work that we do with our communities. So the presentation will tackle first who we are, and then our journey to net zero, how we're doing it for our internal operations, and how we're blending digital innovation to get to our targets for net zero, the partnerships that we're working with, thought leadership pieces that have come out of this, and some case studies of some projects that are successful in terms of sustainability in the Middle East and Africa region. So about DAR, we were founded in 1956. We are an international multidisciplinary consultancy that specializes in engineering, architecture, planning, environment, project and construction management, facilities management, and economics. We have 5 principal design offices between Beirut, Cairo, London, Pune, and Amman, and 47 other permanent local branch offices throughout the Middle East, Africa, CIS, and Asia. Through our design centers and our offices, we have served so far about 950 clients across the 60 countries that we operate out of, with 4,000 successfully completed projects and a total investment cost that's over 290 billion US dollars of construction cost for executed projects, excluding planning projects. Our team comprises permanent staff of about 7,800, with 5,360 that are professional qualified engineers, town planners, architects, environmentalists, economics, quantity surveys, and others. And we do have the in-house expertise and experience to cover a wide range of engineering fields, with a big focus on prioritizing sustainability in all the work that we do, irrespective of what our clients are looking for. Sustainability is very important for us. It's our #1 priority, and no design, no project is actually delivered without consideration of sustainability anymore. The markets that we serve are buildings and cities, and that does span across a whole different typology of buildings and functions, from healthcare to governmental to private sectors, including mixed use, commercial, residential, etc. And then also we have a lot of work that's involved in the transportation sector for airports, bridges, transit, and then roads and highways, among others. Water and environment is also a big market for us in terms of landscape, dams, water, wastewater treatment, environmental policy planning, and sustainable development, of course, and project management as well in terms of management plan, design management, studies, reviews, construction supervision, and quality as well. So in brief, our services is for all ventures and projects that do fall within our sectors. We provide a wide spectrum of expertise and world-class, integrated, multidisciplinary, end-to-end services, from just the mere feasibility to the detailed design, and then to the final handover, including also along the way construction supervision. We do planning, strategy, economics, design, engineering, smart city consultancy. And again, to reiterate, sustainability is our prime consideration for all of our projects across all of the markets and the sectors that we have just presented. So how do we do it? We are strong believers that we need to be uplifting humanity by making smarter and more ethical choices. And for that, our chairman has signed to the United Nations Global Compact and has signed up to some of the UN SDGs, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we are at DAR committed to aligning all corporate strategies and operations with the universal principles on human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. So how do we do this in specific? On human rights, we recognize and support the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And we are committed to complying with all related local and international legislation and standards. On labor, we have a zero tolerance anti-slavery and human trafficking policy that applies to all our supply chain and all our partners. And we are committed first and foremost to health and safety in our offices and on our construction sites. On the environmental side, we promote sustainability both externally through our projects and the services that we offer to our clients, and also internally through ambitious net zero targets for our assets. And that's what we will be walking you through today. Anti-bribery and anti-corruption. We do have a policy modeled after the UK Bribery Act and widely recognized as the world's strictest anti-corruption policy. And for that, our projects, our CSR initiatives, we have been committed to taking strong action to advancing societal goals, especially the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we have been impacting and supporting the achievement of 13 out of the 17 UN SDGs. And what you can see on this slide are a few examples of projects and how each project was able to comply with a certain goal within the SDG. So for example, on the top left, you'll see the New Cairo Administrative Capital, which is aligned with Goal 11 of Sustainable Cities and Communities. And then in the middle is Magdi Yaqub Heart Center, which is also in Cairo in Egypt, and it's about good health and well-being. So those two projects were projects where there was a big focus on sustainable design compliance. The Magdi Yaqub Heart Center is driven towards LEED certification as well, and is promoting health and well-being, being a healthcare facility. On the bottom left, you would see the Princess Noura bint Abdulrahman University, which is a large university campus in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, where the support here is for Goal 4 for quality education. The campus is certified for LEED certification. There's a big focus also on sustainability, whether during the design or during the construction or now during the operation as well. Kabat photovoltaic plant is to align as a PV solar farm to align with Goal 7 of affordable and clean energy. Al Hayman wastewater treatment plant on the top right is to align with Goal 6, clean water and sanitation. And then the last example is the Suez Canal Development Program. The Suez Canal Development Program, which is about Goal 9, that is aligned with industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and how sustainability is woven in the design of those aspects. So mainly those are just a few examples of how we are, through the projects, really aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and really implementing them and providing them as services to our clients. So that was mainly the introduction I had for the purpose of today's presentation. And now I'll take you through our journey and our commitments to net zero. So in 2021, DAR became the first AEC consultancy of its scale to sign up for the World Rebuilding Council Net Zero Carbon Building Commitment in the Middle East and Africa specifically. We committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2030 across our operations, and to also work with our clients to deliver net zero solutions, because we do believe that climate change is the defining issue of our time, and because we also believe that tackling global warming requires an urgent and a comprehensive response from all parts of the industry and the society. And this is especially the case in our industry that we operate out of, because the engineering and the construction industry is itself very much responsible for an enormous portion of the global emissions that are out there, both from the existing built infrastructure and environment that we have, and also from the construction of the new buildings and the infrastructure systems that we anticipate that we will be needing across the world in the near and the far future as we move ahead. So as engineers, architects, and planners, we do foresee that we have an urgent responsibility to show our clients and our communities a better way to design and to construct those systems. So to study the context and come up with solutions that actually effectively work within the environment that they are really developed to suit, and to capitalize on every single opportunity that might be available out there. So for that, we're looking specifically at using more sustainable materials, making provisions for protecting, enhancing biodiversity. And of course, and that's what's the most important point here, is that we have to walk the line ourselves first and foremost, beginning our journey right at home before we start implementing it elsewhere, because it's from the lessons that we would have learned by implementing it ourselves that we do strongly believe that we would be leaders in terms of implementing this to our clients and our communities also. So our strategy for the net zero forum is around three major pillars, as you could see on this slide: achieving net zero for our internal operations, delivering innovation and thought leadership, and working with clients and communities to shape a net zero future for the built environment. So when we signed up to this commitment, we did complete the step number one that you see displayed here. And we did sign up early in November 2021, right around the time of COP26. Now we are in the process of disclosing. So we are now reporting on our emissions for year 2022 and then for 2023, which happens across 2 years. And in parallel, we are, as a company, working on acting and on identifying opportunities where we really can reduce our environmental emissions, especially for offices. So DAR has about 52 offices across the Middle East and Africa. So what are the offices that are really emitting a lot of greenhouse gas emissions? Where do we have a lot of consumption for certain reasons? What are the offices where opportunities for renewables could be considered, and so on? So that would get us to move to stage 3, which is the acting stage. And because also it's part of the commitment requirement, and because also it's our belief that everything that we need to be doing needs to be verified by third party. So verification is also along the same lines of what the commitment requires and what we will be doing. And then lastly, and most importantly, and for those of you that still are not aware about the World Green Building Commitment for this year, it's not only about operational carbon that the commitment is tackling, but also about embodied carbon. So the most important part is that as a consultancy, how we could be advocates to our clients in terms of how to reduce their operational carbon and how to reduce our embodied carbon. So there's a lot of focus nowadays on how we can also really have an integrated thinking of not only how much I consume energy, but also the materials that I tend to choose for my building, the systems that I tend to implement, MEP systems and the likes, the refrigerants that we tend to choose, and what is the effective impact on the environment from raw materials all the way into demolition and end of life. So that's the importance of this commitment, and that's the importance of the decision that DAR as an AEC industry has taken as a leader to get to the journey in terms of net zero. So having said that, again, in 2021, DAR committed to achieving net zero whole life carbon emissions across our entire operation and the target is to be achieved by 2030, by year 2030. So we'll be reporting and reducing on our greenhouse gas emissions within the next 5 years to achieve our target as planned. And along those same lines, we have our own race to zero, which is focused on initiating that transformational sustainability efforts to wire net zero into the strategy, the systems, and the people that do form the core of our organization. That's how we believe that we'll be able to achieve success for this initiative, for our own operations to get to net zero by 2030. And the way that this is being done, so the roadmap is first to provide accurate social and environmental reporting to align with our net zero commitment, then to operate all of our existing assets that are, and the new ones that would come up eventually within our direct control to be net zero whole life carbon by 2030. And then very importantly, all new assets or facilities that would be owned and operated by DAR would also need to achieve the highest level of green building certification and would need to be achieved net zero whole life carbon by 2030. And by here, all new assets will need to be looking at the operational net zero and the embodied net zero as well during their design and construction. We'll also be designing all future renovations of DAR existing facility to be certified, and we're looking at lead operation and maintenance as a framework really to help us guide the sustainability efforts of all renovation works that would happen to DAR existing facilities. And we'll have an example shortly and upcoming in the presentation. And also very importantly, because our people is what will make our journey successful. So we have been working and will constantly work to preparing all professionals from all the trades that are across Dar al Handasa to comply with the high sustainability requirements through company-wide capacity building programs. To date, we have 500 plus green professionals that have worked on more than 100 certified projects and more than 150 sustainable projects. So what you see here is one example of an existing facility that we have, which is a LEED Gold facility, that we are aiming to really integrate digital innovation within it to get us to net zero or LEED Platinum and then LEED Zero, hopefully. So the case study that you see here is our own Dar Cairo headquarters at the Smart Village in Cairo, in Egypt, where we have implemented our own tool, which is a digital twin platform that's called Para Digital Twin within the Dar Cairo offices. That helps us really recommend facility management interventions. And it did also assist in boosting our operational efficiency by 15% and reducing the building's total energy consumption by 25%. So having said that, before I go to the details of the right side of the slide, I just want to really focus on the advantage of really thinking about digital innovation and how as a tool this could service our scope and our work and the acting section of our commitment, like really how we can verify the savings that we're getting, how we can verify how much emission reductions we're really having, and how this as a tool can be really quantifying all the savings that we are aiming to achieve. And that's only just one example that you could see here in front of you, with a 25% reduction to a building that was already designed for LEED Gold and is able to further reduce another 25%. So some of the, let's say, conservation measures that were considered is IoT sensors that were installed in order to enable the adaptive control of lighting, HVAC systems and elevators. And that's about 6.3% reduction. The DX unit, so direct expansion air conditioning units that were installed in the IT critical spaces that were allowing the facility manager to shut off chilled water, and that's a 7% reduction. And also the shared after-hour workspaces. So we did notice that the after hours, there were a lot of employees that were scattered around the floor, and that has kept the lighting and the AC on. So relocating all employees' work after hours into a single designated zone, limiting the floor lighting consumption and the HVAC consumption would help reduce by about 5%. And then also introducing parking occupancy sensor paved the way for automated lighting based on occupancy, and that's equivalent to about 3%. So basically, that's an example of how after reporting on our emissions, we are able to really integrate some strategies to reduce on our greenhouse gas emissions and to really verify it via digital innovation, which is the PARA tool that is being proposed for DAR. On another note, there's also our focus on innovation and thought leadership. And here I'd like to really focus on a very important topic to us, and that is that buildings and infrastructure are two aspects of the built environment that strongly complement each other. And we strongly believe that they should together form the basis of any climate solution that would be proposed for the whole of the built environment. So infrastructure and buildings are strongly correlated in their use and their function, making it crucial to consider them as an integrated part of a whole single system. And there is a substantial opportunity to support the industry in responding to worldwide climate targets, with principles for the built environment that include both the buildings and the infrastructure working together. So a more sustainable built environment offers a higher quality assets, reduced costs, better return on investment across the life cycle. So that does help us offer new ways of thinking sustainably. And some of the KPIs that we're looking at is employing whole life cycle zero carbon as a metric, strengthening the embodied carbon standards, reducing carbon emissions that are associated with construction, and addressing carbon sequestration opportunities. And when we say this, we speak about it at the buildings and at the infrastructure level. And here I take today as an opportunity to introduce you to the Beyond Buildings report. So this report was a partnership work that was done between DAR Group and specifically was led by Integral. Integral is a sister company to DAR, part of the DAR Group of companies, with the support of Perkins & Will and Curry & Brown, and with the World Rebuilding Council. So the report was launched in October 2021 and is tackling one of the most critical sources of carbon emissions that are the building and the infrastructure sector. So the report does present a very solid framework for addressing the decarbonization of the whole built environment. And really, it does call for action. It does highlight the importance of the buildings and the infrastructure to be looked at together, and that there should be a lot of focus on decarbonizing the infrastructure. So I do call each and every single one of you today to go read this report and to really revert back to us or to members of the World Green Building Council if you feel that your support can help in advancing the work that we're trying to do and the mission and the idea that we're trying to relay part of this report at the building and the infrastructure level, mainly to decarbonize the whole built environment. So having said that, our work in partnering with public and private sector organization is something that we recognize as very important. So this cross-domain collaboration really is something very important to drive sustainability, as evidenced by our deep links that we have to date with the public and the private sector collaboration. So we have that split into two here. As you could see, we have the set of the academic collaboration from local mutual collaborations with local universities such as the American University of Beirut to international universities such as MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This really helps us in the fusion of the cutting edge research and development that's happening within those academic entities to really blend it with the industry knowledge that we have. And that really helps us properly address and overcome potentially the major challenges. And it also helps us bring forward innovation to kind of develop environmentally responsible and resilient communities, because that's the main aim. The same that is being done is also on the sector partnerships. We have been for this year and for next year, hopefully regional partners to the World Green Building Council to advance every single effort towards decarbonizing the built environment. And that's focused for now on the Middle East and Africa, because COP27 is happening in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt this year, and COP28 is happening in the UAE next year. And for us, for DAR, those are our home grounds. This is where we operate out of for the past several years. So that's mainly in terms of the commitment to net zero. But then again, we work with our clients and our communities to shape a net zero future for the built environment. So the decarbonization of the built environment for us goes through several steps. First is the energy efficient design, the energy efficient equipment installation, the efficient operational plan, the energy behavior, and the education of the people, because you would be very surprised to learn that it's really by educating people that you would save in terms of your electricity bill, and you would really help in terms of enhancing the behavior and enhancing your performance. Another aspect, while it's very important to design for energy efficiency, to operate for energy efficiency, but also systems commissioning is a top priority. Because if the systems are not constantly commissioned, then there might be a faulty performance, and then there would be losses of energy along the way. Systems optimization is also something that is of high importance. And then when the whole process is done in terms of how much energy we can reduce, and all of the, let's say, energy conservation measures have been really rolled out and invested in and checked, then we start thinking about opportunities and solutions for integrating renewable energy. So that's mainly the roadmap that we offer for our clients to get to net zero targets. And that's how we develop the different portfolios, whether it's energy efficiency for buildings that we're trying to look at, or energy efficiency for infrastructure systems that we're trying to look at, all towards the ultimate goal of getting to net zero. And then I'll end my presentation with two case studies. The first one, so both of them are not net zero projects, definitely not, but they are highly sustainable projects. They have all of the integrated design approach strategy thinking that you could think of in a project. And the first one is the Saudi Arabia pavilion at the Dubai Expo that happened back earlier this year, but it is called Expo 2020 anyway. So the key strategy were a metering strategy, resource reduction, resource reuse, as much as possible to reuse any non-potable water form, etc. A strategy that really looks at maximizing the outdoor spaces, even though we are in the climate of Dubai, and a lot of you might be surprised then how are you doing it in a very hot and humid climate? Well, yes, it could be done. A proper shading and proper landscaping strategy would also help really support this in being effectively done. The advantage and the key strategies of this project were that it was a project that was looking first at demand reduction, and we were able to achieve 24% demand reduction in energy savings compared to ASHRAE 90.1. And then after that, the offset from the renewables. And as you can see on the bottom right picture here, the roof is fully covered by renewable solar PV systems. So the project has achieved LEED Platinum certification under version 4. And on the water, because I know that net zero is not only about energy, but it's also about water and waste and any resource that we could really conserve and preserve. So on the indoor water use, the project with the plumbing fixtures and with the recycled non-potable water system was able to achieve more than 80% reduction in potable water use for indoor applications and a full net zero for the outdoor use for potable water. So it was 100% reduction in any use of potable water for outdoor applications. And one last thing to add to this case study, which was very important, is that luckily the whole team was very focused on how we would be looking at embodied energy as well, and not only operational energy. So there was a lot of focus as to the material procurement strategy that was considered in terms of what materials we are getting, where we're getting those materials from, how much recycled content will be having for each and every single, mainly the bulk of the major construction materials. And eventually the life cycle analysis has proven more than 15% up to 20% reduction in some cases to the greenhouse gas emissions and the different categories that do really demonstrate that the project is achieving a lower embodied energy as compared to what a business as usual model would be. And the last slide, and then I'll take you back to our introductory video for the ones that have missed it at the beginning of this presentation, is the Qatar Twin Towers Hotel. So the key strategies that we focused on were sustainable architecture, optimum energy efficient design, conserving the water resources, minimizing and managing the waste to landfill. So luckily we could say that the Qatar Twin Tower hotel is a prototype for a 5-star future. It has achieved 33% reduction in energy, 35% reduction in the indoor potable water use, again 100% reduction in the outdoor water use. It has achieved GSAS 5-star certification. So GSAS is a sustainability certification that's well tailored for the Qatari climate. And that really puts the hotel on the international scale of high sustainable hotel application and hospitality applications. And similarly to the Saudi Arabia Pavilion at Expo 2020, this project, there was a lot of focus on the types of materials that are being considered and how we can save on embodied energy as well. So more than 50% of the construction material was coming from the local market, which really helped in reducing environmental emissions that would be associated otherwise with transport. And also 25% of the project's materials by cost were with reduced embodied energy. So that's it for me. I'll take you back to our introductory video, and thank you all for being present with us today.